There are big fish, and then there are big fish. This 62-pound Chinook salmon was caught recently near Rivers Inlet on BC's Central Coast. Now, although this fish was taken out of the water in many ways, it will live on, potentially for years. The Percy Walkus hatchery catch large fish like this in order to breed the next generation of salmon. For more on this magnificent animal and how it was caught, we're joined by one of the men who helped catch it, Ted Walkus, one of the hereditary chiefs of the Oikino Nation on the Central Coast of BC. Ted, how did you do this?
We catch it with a gill net on the Wannock River, right above my little community in Rivers Inlet. And we use the fish for our hatchery.
How long did it take to catch?
Well, it's not like we're catching them on a rod and reel. We're catching them in a gill net, so that we drift down with the current in the river. We catch these fish. The drift is probably a 5 or 7 minute drift.
Wow.
And we don't want to drift any longer than that because because they can't breathe with the gill net around them. So we want to make sure that because some of the fish that we do catch, we don't use. So we want to make sure that they're good to be released. So this one here, it was probably out of the water for a minute or two, and then we put them in a holding pen once we've caught them, and then once we have enough brood stock, enough females, enough males, then we'll take an egg take, we call it, where we'll take and strip the eggs out of the females and the milk out of the males, and then we'll return the milk and the eggs to our hatchery in the village. So.
And so how many, well, first off, how many pounds is this thing? How big is it?
This one was probably in low 60s when we caught it. So, and you got to remember that, I mean, this fish hasn't eaten since July, theoretically. And so now we're into the 3rd week of October, so it's lost a lot of its body mass. So in its prime or in the summer when sport fishermen are looking for them, this was probably a 75 or 80 pound fish.
And how common are fish like this there?
Well, these fish are known to Rivers Inlet. They're common in Rivers Inlet, but like we're trying to preserve this run. It's a gene that these fish carry, that these fish only will come back in 5 or 6 years, or even as late as 8 years. So it's a gene that's special to these two river systems, and so we're trying to make sure that they're there. So we, at our lodge at Good Hope Cannery, are 100% catch and release on all Chinook salmon, so that we can make a difference, right?
And this was caught. You had a special license to catch this, or
yes, we have a license from the government, which just allows us to go into the river and harvest these fish for our hatchery. So
now I know that somebody had suggested, well, why didn't you save it or even mount it or stuff it like that? What did you make of that?
Well, I mean, people need to know that that this fish didn't go to waste. We used its milk so it's going to produce big genes, produce big fish.
Yeah.
And then once we're done, my little community in Oikino, our people still like eating fish that have been spawned and have been into the river, because what they do is once they're in the river system, they haven't eaten, so now they're 100% protein. So when you smoke them and preserve them for the winter, there's no body fat to go rancid. So our people still like eating fish like that. So this went home to my community, and one of our community members took that and cut it up and smoked it for winter use. So none of that fish goes to waste.
It's an amazing story and an amazing animal. Ted Walkus, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.